And so here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news, share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are joining us for the live portion. And if you're listening somewhere else and you wanted to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That's at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat, fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta, and you can find me on Rumble, Coffee Talk 2 with the number 2, as we get ready to jump off. Being joined by Granny Smith today, who is sleeping in the chair behind me. Some of you who are able to see can spot him as we get ready to jump in here. And I'll go ahead and say hello to some of the people on the live chat. I see Helter is with us here today, as well as Dragon, Jeff, Raccoon, Cyberjack Sr., who says thumbs up, please do if you can. JJ is here. Peter, Puck, yep, cat's in the background. There she is. And Bob, who missed the live yesterday with Miss Coffee Talk, and she makes it better. Well, Miss Coffee Talk makes everything better. That's why I married her. That's why I married her. She makes everything better. But yeah, as we get ready to dive in here and see what is going on in the realm of the ridiculous. And you see the thumbnail there, because you got the whole Karmelo Anthony thing is really blowing up. It's coming to a head here because there's a lot of rumors flying around about the family and about money. And about the donations. And they did have a GoFundMe, but GoFundMe kicked them out. That is true. Excuse me. But the Give, Send, Go is still fully active. And I see Brian has joined us. Peter wants her on more often. Well, she, if she's available, she came home early yesterday, so she wanted to pop in, which is fine. I'm happy with that anytime. Also, Peter, I found an email for Adam Curry, and I did send a message. Have not heard anything. Maybe he'll respond, maybe not. Not going to get my hopes up. But I did send a message to the email that I could find for him. Just to update you on that. So, Give, Send, Go, which they keep moving the bar on the Give, Send, Go. And it is currently, here it is, at 481,255. It's really slowed down because it wasn't much more than that yesterday. Okay. Like this one right here, Concerned Citizen made a donation, says, may both families in this tragic event find peace. That's cute. Did you make a donation to the other kid? Did you make a donation to Austin Metcalf? Let's see how he's doing. He's got a GoFundMe. I'm pretty sure. Hold on a second. Peter says he's in Amsterdam right now. Okay. I guess you mean Adam Curry is in Amsterdam. So the GoFundMe for Karmelo Anthony was shut down by GoFundMe because in their eyes, it's profiting from a crime. Give, Send, Go is a bit more liberal than that. Give, Send, Go has stayed up and running and is currently at $481,255 as of the time of my just now opening this on the Give, Send, Go website, the Help Karmelo Fund. The goal is now 550,000. Now, you remember we opened this yesterday because we were talking about it a little bit, and the goal was actually 500. It is now 550. And as has been pointed out, every time they start getting close, every time it starts getting close, okay, they move it. They move the bar up. Which, I can't say too much about that. I can't say too much about that because that's what probably most people would do. If you hit your funding goal and it looks like it's going to keep moving, you probably move the bar. Okay, now we'll go and we'll look at Austin Metcalf's GoFundMe page because there is one. All right, I'm going to open Austin Metcalf's GoFundMe. Set up by Jeff. I believe that's his father, Jeff Metcalf. Here is that page. 424,344 with a goal of 460. Wow, this person made a $3,000 donation. Just looking at the okay, Jeff is his father. Correct. I am Jeff Metcalf. My son Austin was tragically stabbed today at school track meet. They were not able to save him. Okay. Somebody made a $3,000 donation. Goodness. So 424. So they do have one. It is comparable because both of them are over $400,000. It is comparable. Hang on, Peter. I'll give you an email address. At least they wrote a full paragraph on this one because that's been one of my arguments on Karmelo's page. There's 3 sentences and it's got bad syntax. And I'm like, who wrote this shit up? It's like they didn't even care. But they're raking it in. They're raking it in. They're ahead of this number. But they're ahead of it by almost $60,000. But it's comparable because they're both over 400,000. They're both over 400,000. Puck says, I can't see any new evidence suddenly appearing that would warrant anything less than second-degree murder. Yeah, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. But there's a lot of rumors flying around. And I'll go ahead and I'll open this up. This is Snopes. This is Snopes right here. And not that I trust Snopes all that much, but sometimes they say things that are accurate. So this article, no, the family of 17-year-old stabbing suspect. That kills me because you see that in every news story. He's not a suspect. He's not alleged. His own words. I'm not alleged. I did it. On camera, audio and video recorded by the LEO who was first on the scene. I ain't alleged. I did it. No, the family of the 17-year-old stabbing suspect, Karmelo Anthony, did not buy a house and car with donated funds. Okay. Claim, family of 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony, who was accused of the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf. He's not accused of it. He is guilty. By his own admittance, he is guilty. By the multiple witnesses that were on site, he is guilty. He never denied that he did it. I don't know why they keep saying accused and suspected. But anyways, used funds donated to them to buy a house and a new car. And they say this is false. In mid-April, it's still mid-April, social media users spread a rumor that the family of Karmelo Anthony, a Texas 17-year-old, blah, 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 purchased a house and a new car using crowd-funded donations sent to support them during the legal case. The claim spread on X and Facebook, with posts saying there was up to a $900,000 home and a brand new car. Originally, it was like, what, $500,000, then it was $800,000, and then it was $900,000 because the number, the money from the fundraiser yet. A fact stated by the family and confirmed via email, allegations the family bought a new home or car are not supported by credible evidence. Therefore, it is false. So Give, Send, Go says that they have not cashed in yet. Okay. Give, Send, Go says they haven't cashed in yet. So that'll give it some credibility. That does give that some credibility. What I can tell you is that it's been shown already, it's been demonstrated. This family already has money. Okay. They already have money. They already have a nice home, an expensive home in a gated community. And they already have an Escalade. So these are things that they already had because they were already a wealthy family. Yeah, Peter says, let me see if I can get this to work right. Snopes is screwing things up. He says the police have video. They also call it a mansion, which it is not. No, it's not a mansion, but it is a valuable house. Fair enough. Peter, did you get that email? And that, yeah, he's renting, not smart enough to buy. Are they renting it? Or they own the house? They own the house. So Snopes calls it false, and fair enough. According to Give, Send, Go, they have not actually withdrawn any of the money yet. They're probably waiting for it to really build, quite frankly. There are reports Anthony's family also had fundraisers on GoFundMe. It appears at least one GoFundMe for Anthony appeared to have been taken down, which is one, again, I've seen it. It was up to about 147,000. But GoFundMe shut it down. Again, a GoFundMe's policy is that you cannot run a GoFundMe whereby you could be profiting from a crime. And from their perception, this is a crime and they don't want them to profit from it. Imperfect says, don't make the black kids angry, they'll shank you. Yeah, apparently. That's what this looks like. Fluke Man has joined us. And yeah, Peter heard that they're renting, but who knows? Of course, it's the internet. Who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? A lot of things get thrown around. They took their sweet time addressing this, though. Why? Because they're fueling the fire. It creates more division, and that division is a fantastic distraction. It's as simple as that. It's a distraction. The powers that be love us at each other's throats, fighting over every which possible thing you can imagine, fighting over what color you are, what gender you are, what gender you think you are, what your sexual orientation is, what your nationality is, what your religion is. And race is one of the ones you can get the most fighting out of. So they love this kind of shit. They love it. They love just kicking the crap out of people with this kind of thing. Keeping us divided, keeping us split, having us fighting over nothing. You think that the whole thing with the Blue Origin rocket is dividing everybody up or distracting people? This is the real distraction. bamboozling the black community into championing a punk, quite frankly, a punk kid who murdered somebody. And then, of course, that's going to put every other community in an uproar. Why are you all behind this? Why has he got this huge give, send, go? Why are you championing us, a murderer? Which could be argued as premeditated. Because he did threaten him. Touch me and see what happens. Ready to stab him. Even if he didn't walk in there thinking that, that implies premeditation because he reached in, got hold of his knife, and said, okay, I'm ready for it. Let me find an excuse to stab this person or cut him. Maybe he didn't intend to kill him, but he intended harm. Flukeman says if they're wealthy rather than rich, does that mean not only they have plenty of money, but also little to no debt, and they can easily afford to pay for the trial with their own money? I would assume they could. Again, one of the arguments I first made when I heard the original bail. Also, keep in mind, they paid that bail without removing any money from the GoFundMe or from the Give Send Go account yet. Give Send Go has already has confirmed they have not taken any money out yet, which means that when the bail was lowered, they had the $250,000 for the bail. I don't know if anybody has addressed that. I don't know if that's come across anyone's mind yet. The judge set the bail that high. When they do that, it's A, because they think the person's a flight risk, or B, because they know that they've got the resources. So the judge set the bail high enough that they wouldn't be able to access the resources reasonably. However, apparently $250,000 is not outside the realm of possibility when the bail was reduced. And again, they haven't touched the Give Send Go. That was the whole point of this particular article, is that the official representative from Give Send Go said, and this article is only 17 hours old. So they had the money. They didn't have $1 million handy, but they sure came up with the rest of it. Peter says you only need 10%. Well, they had it. I don't have 25,000 laying around. Raccoon says doesn't sound like they need the donations. I think it's just a money grab for the hell of it. Could be. I didn't think you could get bail on a murder charge. Plus, he admitted he did it. He admitted he did it. And there's merchandising. I don't know if you noticed in the thumbnail holding up T-shirts. T-shirts are being sold, and they're getting endorsements from like rappers and stuff. I don't know who the rappers are because I couldn't name a modern rapper. If it's not like Public Enemy or the Fat Boys or Run DMC, I don't know who the hell they are. But I'm old school. But they're getting endorsements from rappers. There's T-shirts being sold. Merchandise is being sold. Caps says, why does a murderer have a GoFundMe page? Yeah, well, that's why GoFundMe took it down. But Give Send Go did not. Give Send Go did not take that down. They left it up. But yeah, there's merchandising. And that also raises the argument. I guess it can't be I guess the issue can't be forced until he's officially found guilty. but it's illegal to profit. It's illegal to profit from that. And we'll go to a Fox 4. This is a local news outlet, KDFW, Fox 4. Karmelo Anthony's family speaks publicly for the first time since Frisco track meet stabbing. Yeah, crocodile tears galore, right? So Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff Metcalf, was at the news conference, but the Dallas Police Department arrived at 11:40 and asked him to leave, at which point he walked out. They left with him, law enforcement. Jeff Metcalf told Fox 4's Casey Stiegel that he wanted to hear what was said and had no plans on making a statement. The conference was supposed to begin at 11 a.m., but began just before noon. So the family was an hour late for their own conference, basically. Dominique Alexander opened the news conference by addressing the fact that Jeff Metcalf was in attendance waiting for the news conference to begin. Quote, I want to start off this press conference to say something as a deep note that I can tell America what we seen at the beginning of this press conference, the father being at this press conference. These are my words, don't quote anybody, is a disrespect to the dignity of his son. That's pretty cruel, actually, lady. Quote, it just shows you all his character. He was not invited. He knows that it's inappropriate to be near this family. Your son killed his son. He wanted to hear what was going to be said. I can't fault him for wanting to hear it. And the first thing, you show up an hour late for your own press conference, and then the first thing that you do is disrespect the father of the deceased. Gotcha. Kayla Hayes, Karmelo Anthony's mother, spoke at the news conference in an emotional statement explaining what her family has gone through. Oh, wow, the full statement. I could play the video clip. It says, good afternoon. My name is Kayla Hayes. I'm the mother of Karmelo Anthony. 3 years ago, my family moved to North Texas, searching for a better life. Like so many other families, we wanted to give our children the future we did not have. My husband worked hard every single day to provide for us, to make sure we are in the best financial position possible. As a stay-at-home mom, I made it my life's mission to ensure our children are loved, nurtured, and supported every step of the way. That's well articulated. Is she reading that? Is she reading that? In the wake of this tragic event, our family has been under attack. Whatever you think that happened between Karmelo and the Metcalf boys, my 3 younger children, my husband and I didn't do anything to deserve to be threatened, harassed, and lied about. Neither did the Metcalf family. And they're being harassed. Karmelo supporters, or Free Mello supporters, have been going to their home. I don't know if you've seen that in the media. The lies are false. The lies and false accusations that have been said about us, especially over the past week, has been overwhelming. I love the bit where they say that they're, I don't think it's in this, but another article, just a small town, Baton Rouge, Louisiana boy moved to Texas. That is not a small town. That is not a small town. The lies and their implications put my family in danger, as well as everyone in our community, everyone involved in the investigation, from the police, the attorneys, and the courts there. Our address and my husband's previous employer's address has been put on all social media platforms. My husband has to take a leave of absence because he's afraid of what may happen to our family. His mental health is deteriorating day by day. We've endured death threats. My 13-year-old daughter is afraid to sleep in her own bedroom because she's fearful of what might happen to her. Blame your son for this. Are you going to blame your son for this? He's the one that murdered another kid at a track meet. And Imperfect confirms that she was reading. I would assume so. And let me be clear, the claims that were used about the public donation to buy a home or anything else are false, completely false. We have not received a single dime from the Give, Send, Go fundraiser. And the co-founder has stated that clearly. That part is true. In reality, we were just notified yesterday we could begin to draw funds, and it still takes 7 days to receive those funds once the request is made. Up to 7 days. Up to. Puck says trying to play the victim here is not a good look. No, but there are people that will pander to it. But I mean, yeah, at no point does she sit there. All of this was brought on because your son went from 0 to 60 at the first sign of confrontation. He automatically resorted to lethal force when confronted. Asked to leave, refused, told to leave, made threats, instigated a physical confrontation, and went immediately to lethal force. That is why your husband had to take a leave of absence. That's why your daughter's afraid to sleep in her room, if that's true. I don't know if that's true. People will say anything. They'll make up anything. Continuing. I don't know why we are being targeted and discriminated against before a fair trial. Oh, please. Our son deserves the same rights under the law that everyone is afforded to. He's been raised in a two-parent home with structure, stability, love, and we put God first in everything that we do. And God is all about taking photographs with AK-47s and flashing gang signs, just in case you were wondering. We believe in the Constitution. We believe in the laws of this state, but those laws must apply to all of us, not just some of us. Put that on a t-shirt. Why don't you sell those? So to be clear, when I speak publicly about specific details of what happened under the tent on that rainy and awful day, there's an active investigation that everyone involved wants to be full and fair. We believe in the legal process, and that is where the truth will come out. I bet her attorney wrote this. I would like to hear her on a hot mic and see if she's this articulate or if she sounds like ghetto fabulous. And not just because she's black, honestly, because you see that. You see that where someone, they sit there and they read and they sound a certain way. You see AOC doing it. You see all kinds of people doing this. And then when you hear them off on the side, they sound like straight trash. For the family who experienced the loss, my heart goes out for you. So those who have supported my family, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We ask for your continued support, patience, and prayers as we navigate this difficult process. Thank you. She really just dismissed the family there. And I also, again, I will point out that I think that is in really bad taste that at the opening of this, the very first thing they do is insult the father of the deceased. That's frustrating. That's frustrating. Puck wants to know if we've seen the government COVID website update, finally getting some truth out there. No, I have not seen it. I want to try to run this clip for a second. I just want to hear her voice because I have not, if this will work.
Severe weather can be scary, but it doesn't mean you have to fear it. And that's why.
It's an ad. I hate this. I hate the modern era and all the ads. Never saw this much when I was a kid. Okay.
My name is Kayla Hayes. I am the mother of Karmelo Anthony. 3 years ago, my family moved to North Texas, searching for a better life. Like so many other families.
Yeah, she is definitely reading. And I'll tell you right now from her accent, what she is reading is not how she normally speaks.
We wanted to give our children the future we did not have. My husband worked hard every single day to provide for us, to make sure we're in the best financial position possible.
She's got that kind of accent. Does some of you understand what I'm talking about? She's got that kind of accent, that like snap with your neck, like, I don't know who you be talking to, kind of accent. And again, I'm not trying to be evil, but she does not sound like she's as articulated as what she's reading in her normal vernacular. Okay. Peter says AOC's an airhead when not on script. Imperfect says it'll be interesting to have confirmation on Austin's contribution to instigating this murder. And Bo said she's a parenting failure. Puck wants to know where they moved from. I believe it was Baton Rouge, Louisiana. If anybody wants to look that up to confirm that. Again, I don't have a script. I'm talking off the top of my head when I do any of this. I believe it was Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which is not a small town country boy setting. Okay. It's not. But that's not how she normally speaks. That's why I would love to have a hot mic moment where I can hear her speak under normal circumstances. I'm willing to bet, and I don't know anything about these people, willing to bet that's probably reading those paragraphs off that paper is probably the first grouping of sentences that she's thrown together in 20 years that didn't have a multitude of cuss words mixed into it. Cap says, yeah, it sounds fake. It makes me think of Boondocks, the episode. I've mentioned this before, I believe. The episode of Boondocks where the boy was called the N-word by a teacher, and Grandpa was like, "Oh, lawsuit, we're going to make a fortune." And he was being interviewed by the news. And I know some of you have seen the Boondocks. He was being interviewed by the news, and he was like, "Oh, the N-word's disgusting. We don't use that word around this house." And then the kid goes, "Grandpa, you called me that 28 times this morning, and that was before breakfast. I'm willing to bet." Or you used the N-word 28 times before breakfast, but this morning, and that was before breakfast. I'm willing to bet that when these people are at home, that it's a very lowbrow vernacular. Dragon wants to know if anyone is having audio issues. Can everybody hear me clearly? Can anybody hear me clearly? Everybody hear me clearly? To confirm for Dragon there. Because, I know sometimes it gets a little fuzzy to see, but the audio is a lot more important because I know there are people that listen and don't watch. Bo says it sounds fine. Thank you. Lukeman says, why did they move? Was Karmelo such a big troublemaker? He had no choice but to get lost. I don't know why they moved to Texas. Why does anybody move? I mean, sometimes it's for a better job. We've had to do that. We've bounced around. I've been in a bunch of different states. I've lived in a bunch of places. We moved to Illinois for a job. My wife's job. So I don't know why. Peter suggests the audio has gone in and out a few times. Is it during the transition of pulling up the clip? Because sometimes when you pull up the video clip, StreamYard has a little hiccup. StreamYard will have a little hiccup at that moment. Like right now, I'm about to open up another page. Hold on a second. Let me try to stop. There's a video clip on here. I'll try to pause it. Okay. Well, I'm about to open up an NBC News article here, and it might choke on it for a second, because it does do that. It did that on Restream too, like right here. And there's Monkey joining us here today. So here we go. NBC News. Now this is getting back to Kilmar Abrego. We talked about Kilmar a lot yesterday because that wishy-washy senator went down there to try to manipulate the situation, Senator Chris Van Hollen, because he's just, they arrested him by mistake, and he's just a Maryland citizen, and he doesn't deserve to be there. We got to rescue him from El Salvador. Turns out, at the 11th hour, they actually allowed him to meet this guy. Because at first they were like, no, you can't go to the prison. No, you can't talk to him. But apparently at the 11th hour, they did allow the senator to communicate with this man. For whatever reason, I guess just to satisfy the situation, like a welfare check. Okay? Seriously. So NBC News article, Senator Chris Van Hollen meets with Kilmar Abrego Garcia as Trump fights to keep him in El Salvador. Trump doesn't have to fight to keep him in El Salvador, because the president of El Salvador is not going to release him because they know who he is. They know who he is. It says the Trump administration has said Abrego Garcia was mistakenly deported. I don't think the Trump administration had said that, did they? El Salvador's president said he will remain in custody now that he's been confirmed healthy. So Senator Chris Van Hollen confirmed Thursday night that he has met with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man who the Trump administration said it mistakenly deported to El Salvador in March. I don't recall that. I recall them being accused of it, but I don't know. Have you heard the executive branch claim that it was a mistake? Quote, I said my main goal of this trip was to meet with Kilmar. Tonight I had that chance. I have called his wife, Jennifer, to pass along his message of love. Love by way of work boot? Because he sure did beat her with one. It's in the police report. I look forward to providing a full update upon my return, according to Van Hollen, Democrat from Maryland. All right, and there's a picture of him, photo op with Kilmar. Nice little photo op there with Kilmar. And there's another image of Kilmar. Is it in this article? No, it's not. There's another image that's a lot more important than this one. A lot more important. Monkey said, heard a bit from my car on the way home from shopping. Ridiculous to insult the father of the deceased child. Definitely won't look great for court. I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. Monkey said even Bukel has pictures of Garcia eating well and healthy. Puck says Van Hollen memes are hilarious. I bet. So it goes on to say, images of Van Hollen's meeting with Abrego Garcia were first posted online by Salvadorian President Nayib Bukele, who has rebuffed calls to return Abrego Garcia to the United States. He's not going to give him back because, again, he knows who this is. Bukele says on X after the meeting that Abrego Garcia will remain in El Salvador's custody now that he's been confirmed healthy. President Trump lashed out at Van Hollen Friday morning in a post on Truth Social, saying the Democratic senator looked like a fool yesterday standing in El Salvador begging for attention. And more to the point, he's down there doing this on your dime. Do you think he paid for that round trip? Or do you think you paid for it? And I would love to know what Van Hollen has done in his own prison system. What has Van Hollen done for his constituents, for his people, for the people that voted for him and the people that didn't? Actual American citizens in his own community, while he's in El Salvador trying to defend an illegal alien who he claims was accidentally sent there, alleged gang member. Alleged gang member. Goes on to say, an Oval Office meeting with Trump on Monday, Raquel argued that he didn't have the power to return him to the United States. That I'm not sure about. Attorney General Pam Bondi said the same day the United States would provide a plane for Roberto Garcia to travel back to the country should El Salvador allow his release, framing a decision as being solely in Bukel's hand. That I had not heard. But what is interesting about this? What is interesting about this, and I'm going to pull up an image here. This is one of the images, okay? You're not going to see this image. You'll see this image, but you won't see the whole thing. Let me close this out. Stop sharing. They're only showing the top half of this photograph. Here it is. The top half of this photograph in the media. So from the handshake up, you see they're shaking hands in this photo. I know some people are listening and they can't see, but there is Senator Van Hollen shaking hands with Garcia, with a rep there. And in the media, I've seen this photograph showing from the handshake up. However, these photographs, again, were taken by the government in El Salvador. And this is the entire photograph. And you see what's been highlighted here. You see what's been highlighted there. Because on his knuckles, or across the front of his fingers, are the MS-13 call signs. So, alleged gang member? I don't know. You tell me. Because it's right there on his left hand. It's right there. And like I said, if you find this, if you find pictures in the regular media, you will only see this photograph from the handshake up. You will not see his left hand in that shot. That's your reality right there. That's your reality check. And like I have pointed out, where's Van Hollen for his own constituents? While he's doing, I mean, he takes the blue ribbon for virtue signaling for 2021. I'll tell you what, if there's a contest for, you know, somebody wants to do like a best virtue signals of 2021, top 10 virtue signaling moments, that has got to be at least in the top 5. That's got to at least be in the top 5. Them flying all the way out there. Another good one is the current Fight the Oligarchy tour with Bernie Sanders and AOC. As much money as they're spending. $15,000 an hour private jets to fly around to fight the oligarchy events where they're begging for donations. To spend on what? Incredible. I mean, what do you say about this kind of stuff? The gall of these people. Again, I know people are not that smart, but you don't have to treat them like they're this stupid. You really don't. And speaking of thinking that everybody is stupid, let's talk about Letitia James again. Letitia James, you remember her. You remember Letitia James, New York Attorney General Letitia James, who got into trouble over some real estate discrepancies, also begging for donations. New York Post article, Letitia James launches a fundraiser seeking donations up to $18,000 per person in wake of alleged mortgage fraud on her Fight for Our Rights tour. Embattled New York Attorney General Letitia James is hitting up supporters for big bucks days after the Trump administration accused her of alleged fraud involving several homes that she owns. The money bid is in the form of an invitation to an event on Tuesday from 5:30 to 7, calling for contributions starting at $500 and climbing all the way to an eye-popping $18,000 per person, which is the maximum allowed under New York law, in support of her 2026 re-election bid. The invite features a photo of James framed by a circular gay pride flag. Oh, can we see a picture of that? You're not going to show us a picture of this? So this face with a gay pride flag background is the invitation, and ticket prices range from $500 to $18,000 a piece, while she's under investigation for fraud, so that she can run for re-election in 2026. You can't make this stuff up, people. You can't make it up. What nerve. If I had her nerve in my tooth, I'd be losing my mind. Oh my God. And it's only an hour and a half event. I'll charge $18,000 a plate. You can come to my house and hang out for an hour and a half. Oh my God. Oh my God. And then, of course, we talked about this the other day, because the fraud essentially is that she claimed in her real estate forms for a property that's in Virginia that is her primary residence, which, if it's not her primary residence, is real estate fraud in the state of Virginia. But if it is her primary residence, then that means that she violated the code of ethics for the attorney general position that she holds in New York, which requires for her borough to be her primary residence year round, which means that every decision she made, I believe it was from April. Is that right? Is it April 2023 till now, can be called into question in court and possibly thrown out. Either way, she's screwed when this goes to trial. She's screwed one way or screwed under another. Peter suggests there's no gift tax under $18,000, so maybe that's why she wants it under $18,000 also. Yeah, but again, and that ties in with the corruption of New York, that's the maximum that I guess a politician can ask for at a fundraiser. And that's probably why it's set like that. But I mean, the nerve of these people, they drive me crazy. Or again, Bernie Sanders and AOC at their Fight the Oligarchy tour is a fundraiser. And at the last roundabout, they got $9.2 million. And I'm like, who has this money? Who's making these donations? Where is it coming from? And you know what? Pour that money in there and let them fail. Just like Harris and Waltz did. $1.2 billion, is that correct? $1.2 billion donated to them, and they failed. And they left it in debt. And they have the nerve to call Trump an oligarchy. He didn't make that much. I mean, come on. Come on. Give me a break. That is not an attractive woman. Just distracted by the photo there. And I want to see the invitation. I want to see that invitation. Surrounded by the gay flag. Don't you want to represent your constituents? Maybe that's who she thinks that her constituents are. I was trying to look really quickly. I don't see an image of it anywhere. I'm sure it'll turn up. I'm sure it'll turn up, but I'm curious to see what that would look like. I'm curious to see what that would look like. These people are insane, and I just want them all to fail. I want all the money in the world, and I want them to fail. I want them to fail. Waste that money. Waste those people's money. Maybe they'll learn something. If you get hit hard enough in the wallet, sometimes you'll learn something. This is another one that's going to hurt everybody. New York Post, Kamala Harris leads California's governor's race. However, 50% of them say the former vice president shouldn't run at all. So they say she shouldn't run at all, but they're still supporting her. Got it. Former Vice President Kamala Harris is the runaway front runner in the California governor's race. However, voters are split on whether the failed Democrat presidential candidate should enter the fray. Harris has the support of 31% of Californians who plan to vote in the Golden State, the 2026 gubernatorial primary election. But half of likely voters believe that the former vice president, California's senator and state attorney general, should not run for the governorship. Harris's closest competitors are former Representative Katie Porter, and Republican Riverside Sheriff Chad Bianco, and former Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra, a recent entry in the race. And then, of course, there's Newsom. Is Newsom even running? Is Newsom even running? I don't see him on the list. Is it just assumed? And these are the people that she's bidding against to go against Newsom, perhaps? I mean, she couldn't possibly do anything but hurt the situation further. As if Newsom wasn't bad enough. You really would consider her. People are really going to consider her. And again, they're looking at polls, and you can't trust polls. You really can't. They cherry pick who they're going to question, and then they only question a very small, a minuscule, really, demographic of people that does not fairly represent the overall general population. But the fact that she's even considering running doesn't make any sense to me. Peter says California's long gone. I got out of there in 2014. I don't blame you. Yeah, it is long gone. It's been coming apart for decades. And nothing short of a total reset is going to recover it. You're not going to get any of the money back, but every facet of state government needs a complete audit. And all current leadership needs to be suspended and replaced with an interim government with completely fresh elections run involving none of them. All those lawmakers, they've done nothing but tear it apart. I'm just, the gall of these people that Kamala Harris would even be considered for this. Like she could do anything less than bring about the further demise of California. About the only thing worse at this point would be if the San Andreas fault line collapsed, which could end up being a damn blessing. At this point, it could end up being a blessing. Now, this is one that caught my eye because of my my affinity for the animal kingdom. And I had this pulled up yesterday, but I did not read it because I knew my wife wouldn't be able to take it because she just can't even look at stories like this. All right. USA Today article. You might have seen this in the news. More than 150 dogs. I believe it's exactly 151. More than 150 dogs rescued from a Utah home where they were living in extremely poor conditions. So it's an animal hoarder, and this guy had 151 dogs, or 152, excuse me. It says 152 in the house. More than 150 dogs were rescued from a Utah home April 15th, where authorities said they were living in extremely poor and overcrowded conditions. I can imagine. After receiving a possible animal neglect report, the Ogden Police Department conducted a welfare check where they discovered 152 dogs living inside of a residence in Weber County, less than an hour's drive north of Salt Lake City. Various animal services responded to help safely transport animals away from the property, the department said in news releases. Police said that all the dogs are currently receiving veterinary care, evaluations, and shelter support. The Ogden Police Department and Ogden Animal Services thank all responding agencies and partners who helped ensure the safety and well-being of these animals. Police have not confirmed whether any arrests have been made, adding that the case remains under investigation. The Ogden Police Department told USA Today it could not share any additional details. While the dogs require new homes, Ogden Police said none are currently available as they are undergoing medical treatment and standard shelter protocols. Police said pet adoptions are expected to begin sometime next week, sometime around Monday, April 21st. Animals are currently being sheltered in kennels and rooms away from other animals to prevent the spread of possible diseases, according to Weber County Animal Services. And I'm like, because and again, my wife, if I started reading this, she would have been like, no, I got to leave the room. She wouldn't be able to stand it. And, we take care of animals. We've helped dogs occasionally, but mostly we got cats. And the most we've had is 20 at one time. And we don't have them all penned up, and we don't have them all piled up in the house. The majority of them, we have 5 that remain indoors, and the rest of them are sheltered in our yard space. They free range, and they use our habitats, and they're fed and watered and cared for. I couldn't imagine having that many, especially in the house. How does that work? How does that work? What a horrible, sad thing. And this is going on all the time because there's definitely issues with animal hoarders out there. There's definitely, you've probably seen it. There is an animal hoarders show, isn't there? My wife watches hoarders, but I don't think she could watch animal hoarders. I think that would be too much for her. I think that would be too much for her to stomach animal hoarders, unfortunately. But it's a good thing. Someone reported it. Someone figured it out. Someone reported it. They got those dogs out of there. Hopefully, they're not so sick they have to be put down. Because these shelters, I don't care what they tell you, even the no-kill shelters will kill animals. If they think they're too sick, if they think they're too injured, there's a million reasons. I've been told before to put animals down and refuse to do it, and they're still alive. Both Hobo and Old Dad, some of you know those cats. We talked about them before. I was told to euthanize both of them, and it's been years now. And they're fine and they're happy. Puck, I wish I could take care of 152 cats. I have a hard enough time, even with adoptions or anything else, because we do adopt them out from time to time. I hate letting any of them go because I always worry. Isn't that right, Granny Smith? Granny Smith is waking up back there. Yeah, Peter says mental health issue. Person must be a little crazy. Yeah, you would have to be. And then Caps says it's very sad. It is. And there's Lucky. Lucky, you missed everything. You didn't miss Granny Smith, though. Come here, Granny. Come here, darling. Hi. Here she is. I know you all wanted to see Granny. There's our lovely little Miss Granny Smith. Hi. Hi, sweetie. I'll put you back down. I gotta finish up. Go on, darling. You're all right. And as always, we will wrap up with the debt clock. Not death clock. The debt clock. National debt clock, and we'll take a look and see where Doge is currently. And projected clawback at the moment is $332 billion. $332 billion, which is really good for what? Roughly 3 months. That's good work. That is good work so far. It looks like it'll hit 333 tonight. We'll see how it looks on Monday. Puck says Granny Smith, she likes apples. I don't know. She just looks like Granny Smith to me. And Fluke Man says, if I had $1 million, I'd give you cat supplies for life. Well, I appreciate that. Sometimes we get stuff. Sometimes people send supplies to our P.O. box. We get a bag of cat food or something like that. And every bit helps. Every bit helps. It's expensive, but, you know, we really enjoy helping them. Right, buddy? We enjoy taking care of them. But with that, we are at the top of the hour, so I'll go ahead and start signing off. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. And you can find me on Rumble, and that's Coffee Talk 2 with the number 2. So thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation. And we will catch you again Monday.